Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam here on Canto 4, Chapter 12, Text 11. We are in somewhere in the purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The translation is Dhruva Maharaj rendered devotional service unto the Supreme, the reservoir of everything, with unrelenting force. While carrying out his devotional service to the Lord, he could see that everything is situated in him only, and that he is situated in all living entities. The Lord is called Achyuta because he never fails in his prime duty to give protection to his devotees. So the Lord is unfailing in all circumstances. Even Arjuna refers to him as Achyuta. In Bhagavad Gita, he's called Achyuta. So then, so we continue reading from this purport. The Lord always protects his surrendered devotee. A devotee can see that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Yesterday we gave many examples of how the Lord is protecting his surrendered devotee, how he takes on various incarnations or he comes himself to protect his devotee. So the devotee can see the Lord in everyone's heart. Krishna is there as the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the pure devotee, he has realized this. Ordinary persons cannot understand how the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, but a devotee can actually see him. Not only can the devotee see him outwardly, he can see with spiritual vision that everything is resting in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as described in Bhagavad Gita, Matsthani Sarva Bhutani. That is the vision of a Mahārāja. So the pure devotee, he understands that everything is coming from Krishna. Everything is Krishna's energy. So he sees Krishna everywhere. He understands that nothing is separate from Krishna. That is the vision of a Mahārāja. He sees everything others see, but instead of seeing merely the trees, the mountains, the cities, or the sky, he sees only his worshipable Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything, because everything is resting in him only. This is the vision of the Mahārāja. So we see, oh, there's a sky, there's a tree, there's a bird, there's a dog, there's a human being. But the pure devotee, he's seeing everything belonging to Krishna. He's seeing that, oh, everything is Krishna's energy. Everything is resting in Krishna. In summary, a Mahābhagavat, a highly elevated pure devotee, sees the Lord everywhere, as well as within the heart of everyone. So Prabhupada would always give the example, the mother, because the love of her child, she sees the child's shoes, she'll immediately remember the child. Oh, the shoes belong to my child. She's not just seeing the shoe, she's remembering the child. So here, the pure devotee, because he has so much love for Krishna, and he understands everything belongs to Krishna, so wherever he looks, he sees Krishna. This is possible for devotees who have developed elevated devotional service to the Lord, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 538, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Only those who have smeared their eyes with the ointment of love of Godhead can see everywhere the Supreme Lord face to face. It is not possible by imagination or so-called meditation. So Lord Brahma in his Brahma Samhita, he says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. By anointing the eyes with the salve of love, when we have love for Krishna, we will be able to see him everywhere. And this love can be revived by hearing and chanting. It's there in everyone's heart. We simply have to revive it. Tam evam shila sampanam
Tam evam shila sampanam
brahmanyam dinavatsalam
brahmanyam dinavatsalam
goptaram dharma setunam
goptaram dharma setunam
menire pitaram prajaha.
menire pitaram prajaha.
Dhruva Maharaj was endowed with all godly qualities. He was very respectful to the devotees of the Supreme Lord and very kind to the poor and innocent. And he protected religious principles. With all these qualifications, he was considered to be the direct father of all the citizens. The personal qualities of Dhruva Maharaj described herein are the exemplary qualities of a saintly king. Not only a king, but also the leaders of a modern, democratic, or impersonal government must be qualified with all these godly characteristics. Then the citizens of the state can be happy. It is clearly stated here that the citizens thought of Dhruva Maharaj as their father. So the qualities of a great leader, because he's in a position and it's his responsibility to make sure that all citizens are happy, everyone is well taken care of, just like a father. A father makes sure in the family everyone is happy, is well taken care of. So Dhruv Maharaj is like that, and that's the quality of an ideal king. As a child, depending on the able father, is completely satisfied. So the citizens of the state, being protected by the state or the king, should remain satisfied in every respect. At the present moment, however, there is no guarantee by the government of even the prime necessities of life in the state, namely the protection of lives and property of the citizens. So that's the reason there is so much more anxiety, so much more stress, because in earlier Vedic times, the kings would make sure everyone has their necessities met. You know, everyone is happy and peaceful. So one word is very significant in this connection, Brahmanyam. Dhruv Maharaj was very devoted to the Brahmanas who engage in the study of the Vedas and thereby know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are always busy propagating Krishna consciousness. So Dhruv Maharaj, he's an ideal king. And so he is very respectful to the devotees. The state should be very respectful to societies that distribute God consciousness all over the world. But unfortunately, at the present moment, there is no state or government support given to such movements. As for good qualities, it is very difficult to find anyone in state administration with any good qualities. The administrators simply sit in their administrative posts and say no to every request, as if they were paid to say no to the citizens. So Prabhupada is just pointing out a few differences between the rule during the rule of Dhruv Maharaj and the current situation. Another word, Dina Vatsalam, is very significant also. The state head should be very kind to the innocent. Unfortunately, in this age, the state agents and the presidents draw good salaries from the state and they pose themselves as very pious, but they allow the running of slaughterhouses where innocent animals are killed. So Prabhupada is pointing out that even the animals that are in the country, they are citizens of that country and they should be protected. So where is the protection for the animals? If we try to compare the godly qualities of Dhruv Maharaj to the qualities of modern statesmen, we can see that there is no actual comparison. Dhruv Maharaj was present in the Satyug, as will be clear from the next verses. He was the ideal king in Satyug. The government administration in the present age, Kali Yuga, is bereft of all godly qualities. Considering all these points, the people today have no alternative but to take to Krishna consciousness for protection of religion, life, and property. So Prabhupada is pointing out that as there is no one actually capable, the leaders are not really capable of taking care of the citizens, and that is really such a big difference from the time of Dhruva Maharaj. Satrimshad Varsha Sahasram
षट्त्रिंशद्वर्षसाहस्रम्
Shashasa Shitimandalam
शशास क्षितिमण्डलम्
Bhoge Punya Shayam Kurvan
भोगैः पुण्यक्षयं कुर्वन्
Abhoger Ashubha Shayam.
अभोगैरशुभक्षयम्.
Dhruva Maharaj ruled over this planet for 36,000 years. He diminished the reactions of pious activities by enjoyment, and by practicing austerities, he diminished inauspicious reactions. That Dhruva Maharaj ruled over the planet for 36,000 years means that he was present in the Satyug, because in the Satyug, people used to live for 100,000 years. So the life was 100,000 years of the people living in Satyug, 100,000. And that's how he could rule for 36,000. And that's how people could do the yoga, the meditation, because they would do, we heard Kardama Muni, he did for 10,000 years, he did yoga. So people had a very long life. That's how they could do yoga before. In the next Yug, Treta, people used to live for 10,000 years, and in the next Yug, Dwapar, for 1,000. In the present age, the Kali Yuga, the maximum duration of life is 100 years. With the change of the yugas, the duration of life and memory, the quality of kindness, and all other good qualities diminish. So the ages, as they go on, our good qualities also diminish. Lesser and lesser good qualities. There are two kinds of activities, namely pious and impious. By executing pious activities, one can gain facilities for higher material enjoyment. But due to impious activities, one has to undergo severe distress. So we are getting the results of our activities. So for example, when we do pious activities, we get good results. We can enjoy more. When we do impious activities, we get great distress and suffering. A devotee, however, is not interested in enjoyment or affected by distress. When he's prosperous, he knows, I'm diminishing the results of my pious activities. And when he's in distress, he knows, I'm diminishing the reactions of my impious activities. So this is how a devotee thinks. He says everything is coming based on whatever the action and reaction, the law of karma. So because when we get in distress, we get all like, oh, Krishna, why you do this to me, or this, or this one, or that one. But the devotee, he's saying, well, my bad karma is going. A devotee is not concerned with enjoyment or distress. He simply desires to execute devotional service. We were reading in Nectar of Devotion so many great personalities throughout the Bhagavatam, how their prayers are that they don't want anything, not even life in higher material planets, not liberation, but just to constantly engage in pure devotional service. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that devotional service should be apratihata, unchecked by the material conditions of happiness or distress. The devotee undergoes processes of austerity, such as observing Ekadashi and similar other fasting days, and refraining from illicit sex life, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. Thus he becomes purified from the reactions of his past impious life. And because he engages in devotional service, which is the most pious activity, he enjoys life without separate endeavor. So the austerity, Krishna says acts of charity, penance, and austerity should never be given up. So what is austerity for a devotee? Austerity for a devotee, what a devotee does? Observes fasting. Fasting on Ekadashi, fasting on Janmashtami, or other appearance days of the Lord, following the four regulative principles. And so, and he engages in devotional service. Devotional service. So Krishna says devotional service is joyfully performed. Susukham kartam avyayam. So a devotee is always happy. And the pure devotee always happy. Evam bahu savam kalam.
Evam bahu savam kalam
Mahatma vichalendriyaha.
Mahatma Vichalendriyaha
Trivargapaikam nitva.
Trivargaupayikam Nitva
Putra yadan nipasanam.
Putrayadan Nipasanam.
The self-controlled great soul Dhruva Maharaj thus passed many, many years favorably executing three kinds of worldly activities, namely religiosity, economic development, and satisfaction of all material desires. Thereafter, he handed over the charge of the royal throne to his son. Perfection of materialistic life is suitably attained by the process of observing religious principles. This leads automatically to successful economic development, and thus there is no difficulty in satisfying all material desires. So, all the religious principles, the Vedas, they say, oh, you engage in pious activity. By engaging in pious activity, we can get good results. With that, good results means economic development. And then we can have good sense gratification. Since Dhruva Maharaj, as a king, had to keep up his status quo, or it would not have been possible to rule over the people in general, he did it perfectly. But as soon as he saw that his son was grown up and could take charge of the royal throne, he immediately handed over the charge and retired from all material engagements. So then Dhruva Maharaj, so Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So he's done this Dharma, Artha, and Kama because he is a king. He has to do his duty. Although he's a pure devotee, he is in a position of a king. So now, time for retirement. He wants to engage completely in devotional service. So he's handing over his kingdom to his son. One word used here is very significant, avichalendriya, which means that he was not disturbed by the agitation of the senses, nor was his sensory power diminished. Although in years he was a very old man. Since he ruled over the world for 36,000 years, naturally one may conclude that he became very, very old. But factually his senses were very young, and yet he was not interested in sense gratification. In other words, he remained self-controlled. So Dhruva Maharaj, he's able to control his senses. Even though he's an old man, he is able to control his senses. He performed his duties perfectly according to the materialistic way. That is the behavior of great devotees. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, one of the direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya, was the son of a very rich man. Although he had no interest in enjoying material happiness, when he was interested with doing something in managing the state, he did it perfectly. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he was the son of, his father was very rich, very rich. In those times, very rich. So in today's time, they would be like super rich. He was a pure devotee. He had no interest actually in taking care of the business. But because he was given the responsibility, he did it very well. Srila Gaura Sundar advised him, from within, keep yourself and your mind completely aloof. but externally execute the material duties just as they need to be done. So Lord Chaitanya gave him this advice of how to do it, because Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to go and be with Lord Chaitanya in Puri, but he had these responsibilities. So Lord Chaitanya told him that in your mind, your heart, you be just fixed on Krishna. But outside, outwardly, you do all your duties. Do them perfectly as they need to be done. This transcendental position can be achieved by devotees only, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, while others, such as yogis, try to control their senses by force. Devotees, even though possessing full sensory powers, do not use them because they engage in higher transcendental activities. So Prabhupada is pointing out that the devotee can do that. We can see the gopis also. They were doing their duties, whatever they needed to be done, they were doing when Krishna was away. But their mind was fixed on Krishna. They didn't give up their duties, but they were completely absorbed in Krishna. And this is the consciousness of the pure devotee. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Manyamana idam vishwam.
Manyamana idam vishwam
Maya rachitam atmani.
maya rachitam atmani
Avidya rachita swapna.
avidya rachita swapna
Gandharva nagaropamam.
gandharva nagaropamam.
Srila Dhruva Maharaj realized that this cosmic manifestation bewilders living entities like a dream or phantasmagoria, because it is a creation of the illusory external energy of the Supreme Lord. In the deep forest, it sometimes appears that there are big palaces and nice cities. That is technically called Gandharva Nagar. Similarly, in dreams also, we create many false things out of imagination. A self-realized person or a devotee knows well that this material cosmic manifestation is a temporary, illusory representation appearing to be truth. So this material world, the material world is real. We are very much here. We are very much inside the body. But what is false is that we are thinking we are the body, but we are not the body. That is the false thing. That's the illusion. We are thinking that this material world is our permanent place, not understanding it's just temporary. It is, but behind the shadow creation, there is reality, the spiritual world. So this material world is called a perverted reflection. Now, if there's a reflection, there has to be the reality. And where is the reality? That's the spiritual world. A devotee is interested in the spiritual world, not its shadow. Since he has realization of the supreme truth, a devotee is not interested in this temporary shadow of truth. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtva Nivartate. So a devotee, he understands that I am just inside this body. It's a temporary phase. This is not my reality. My reality is in the spiritual world, where I have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. So Dhruv Maharaj, he was on that platform. He understood that uh, this world is temporary. The reality is in the spiritual world. He understands that everything belongs to the Lord. He was very noble king, very saintly king. He took care of his subjects very well. And then he also retired. He didn't continue. He retired. He's giving up his kingdom to his son to just dedicate his whole time to devotional service. So he's being like a great example, a great example to everyone. He ruled his kingdom in a way as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that Lord Chaitanya is telling Raghunath Das Goswami that you do whatever is needed to be done, but be fixed in Krishna, always constantly thinking of Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes.
We will stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and enjoying in Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare